I don't care. I really don't. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Jose here, welcoming you to another opinion piece, where today I am going to tell you why I really do not care at all about the upcoming Lord of the Rings TV show produced by Amazon Studios, seemingly in conjunction with the Tolkien State and Trust and HarperCollins and everyone, New Line Cinema, everyone that has ever had anything to do with Lord of the Rings. And I don't care. Reasons why, here we go. First of all, the main reason why I don't care about it is not moral, it's not ethical, but really it doesn't come from a place of love. If we think back to the Lord of the Rings trilogy movies by Peter Jackson, they came from an honest place of love for the work. Peter Jackson was a massive fan of the books, and he got the rights to the movie, and he was so happy that he could work on it, and it was a true labor of love, and him alongside with Frank Walsh and Philippa Boyens did a fantastic adaptation of the works. They made the changes that were necessary, and it was as good and as faithful an adaptation as anyone could have come up with. Unfortunately, then we had the Hobbit trilogy, where maybe perhaps factic powers, perhaps studios got greedy because of the success of the original trilogy, and they turned the Hobbit, which was a much smaller single volume book, into a bloated movie trilogy, and we know how that went. Peter Jackson wasn't even meant to direct that, but he came back possibly to rescue the project, probably because he was involved in name in some shape or form there, and he wanted to maybe do best he could. I don't know. So we had the Lord of the Rings trilogy, we had the Hobbit movie. The only thing left to plunder was the Silmarillion. And what you got to understand is how impossible it is to adapt the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion was published posthumously by Christopher Tolkien, so J.R.R.'s son, and it was just a collection of stories meant to provide a background and a mythology for the creation of the world that we are presented with in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Now, these were unconnected stories that flow through time and the ages of the world that were cobbled together by Christopher. He had to finish them to give us some kind of cohesive narrative thread plot. I didn't know this, but researching for the video, he was assisted by fantasy author Guy Gabriel Kay, and eventually the Silmarillion saw publication. It is a difficult book. Even Lord of the Rings fans will say so. It is just not an easy read. It doesn't flow. It is divided into 5 parts. The first part is called the Anuindale, and it's about the creation of the world. And it's weird. It is weird because the god Eru Ilúvatar, to create the world, he creates these little minions, and he gets them to play music. The world was created playing music, so that's just weird. The second part of the Silmarillion is called the Valaquenta, and that just talks about the different gods and deities in the world and stuff like that. So no one's going to adapt that. The third part of the book, which is actually the longest part of the book, is the Quenta Silmarillion, and it tells the story about the Silmarils, these mythical jewels created by the elves, and the wars between the gods and Melkor / Morgoth, the evil god type thing, and that's the bulk of the book. That takes place in the first stage of the world. That's not what is being adapted into the TV show. It is the fourth part of the book, called the Akalabeth. And then the fifth part of the Silmarillion is just a recount or retelling again of the Lord of the Rings and the world that we saw. But anyway, so the Akalabeth. The Akalabeth, the fourth part of the Silmarillion, is actually 30 pages long. How on earth are you going to adapt 30 pages into a 5-season TV show. It is not going to work. There's no material there. Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, yes, we had the material. There was an adaptation. We wanted that adaptation. Here, there isn't. They're just going to create a fiction set in this world that is not going to be Tolkien's vision. They are not coming at it from a perspective of wanting to get Tolkien's work into visual format. It's just a cash grab by good old Jeff.
That's Jeff Vader, that is.
So having a quick look as to who's behind this project, this multi-million, even billion worth project, the two main producers are these people, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. Patrick McKay, unfortunately, shares name with a British serial killer. Here's to hoping that that's not a premonition of things to come. But I had a quick look on the IMDb. These guys have got no writing credits at all. They have no history on producing anything. I mean, an uncredited writing episode of Star Trek. Whoa, really? And all of a sudden, these guys, I mean, they may be mavericks. They may be so talented that no one had spotted them before, and this is the big break. I don't know. Maybe, perhaps. Don't know. So you're gonna charge these two untried, untested people with running what's going to be the most expensive TV show ever produced in the history of television. I don't know. The other thing that bothers me at all, and there's the sources here, I'll put the links in the description below here, whatever. They want to make Lord of the Rings sexy. They want to make Lord of the Rings Game of Thrones. They explicitly asked for actors who must be comfortable with nudity. I've got a problem with this, you see. I don't have a problem with titties and nudity. I love a bit of nudity, I love a bit of titty. But A Song of Ice and Fire was that kind of modern, grim, dark, gritty thing where characters are all morally grey, there is no clear good and evil type thing, and you are into that world from the get-go. That's fine. That's okay. It is what it is. There's no apologies. There's no need to explain anything. Lord of the Rings is not that. Lord of the Rings was a very clear, definite good and evil fight. And throughout the books and the Silmarillion, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, it is clean. It was meant to be for all audiences. It's not there to shock. And all of a sudden, Jeff and his minions come around and want to make it into a titty show. I don't like it. It is not what it is. I don't watch Lord of the Rings for titty. I don't need it. It doesn't do anything for me. It is not what it's meant to be. Finally, and the biggest issue I've already mentioned, is that there is no story. There is no story to adapt. 30 pages doesn't justify 5 seasons. These people are going to create characters and they're going to make them say and do things that Tolkien never intended them to. They're just using the Lord of the Rings world and setup to create their own TV show, which may or may not push or reflect their agenda, their issues. It's not a show made to... I was going to say it's not a show made to entertain. Obviously, they're trying to entertain. They're trying to make money, but it's not reflecting Tolkien's view, Tolkien's philosophy, Tolkien's ideas. It's going to reflect their views, their ideas, their politics, using someone else's creation for that purpose. And possibly after all of this that I've said, I may actually give it a go. I may actually watch it and see what it's like. I may end up liking it, but we never wanted it. If you want an adaptation of the Silmarillion, just grab Blind Guardians, slightly bloated, just a bit like the book, slightly overproduced, but at least, again, you get an honest fan's take on Tolkien's work. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Even if you just like the video, please don't just do the thumbs down. Just tell me why. Let's engage. Until next time, take loads and loads of care. Lots of lessons. Bye.